Hello and welcome to the recording of the Year 11 Parent Information Evening that was held last week. I'm Miss Powell. I'm just going to run through very briefly the key information that was discussed in the evening. Obviously get in touch if anything is unclear. So some important dates for the year then. You've got the mocks are beginning when we come back after half term. You will get the audit from that, which will include their mock grades on the 22nd of March. The 23rd of March will be Parents' Evening, where obviously we'll be discussing those audit grades with you. And then the 15th of May is the first external exam. So that's the first real GCSE exam. And then May half term, roughly, is when students should be expected to be going off on study leave. But we will be in contact nearer the time with some more details about that. So, if we're looking at a countdown here, 15th of May sounds like a really long time away. It is from last week when I was calculating it. It's 17 weeks and it's 117 days. So with that in mind, it sounds like it's ages away. We've got lots of time to prepare. However, when you then take out the school holidays from that, it leaves us with 14 weeks and 98 days. We take out the 2 weeks that we've got for mocks. That's 12 weeks and 84 days. We've got one staff development day during that time, and we've also got 2 bank holidays, a bonus one because we've got a new king, which we wouldn't normally have. So what that leaves us with is 12 weeks and 81 days. And then when we take out the weekends from that, that leaves us with 12 weeks and 60 days. So what that's leaving us with is the time that your son has got left with his teachers before that first exam, 60 days. That is not, once you factor all of the other things in, 60 days is really not a very long time. 12 weeks is 3 months. So that's why we ran this evening at this point in the year, just to really emphasise for students and their parents the importance of what's to come before that exam. So on that note, attendance between now and those exams is vitally, vitally important. If there is only 60 days left, we really desperately need for all students to have 95% attendance, and they need to be attending school on time every single day for us. This figure here shows the effect that lateness can have on learning. So if your child is 5 minutes late every single day during an academic year, that's 3 days lost. If they're half an hour late every single day, that's 19 days lost across the year. You can see at the bottom there that I've explained that the morning tutor time for Year 11 at the moment is being used for revision and also to provide students with key resources to support them in their revision. If they're missing that time every single morning, they are going to be at a significant disadvantage to other students within Year 11. So really important that we're getting in on time every single day. This here is looking at the percentage of attendance between now and that first exam. If students attend 100% of the time, they obviously get 60 days with their teachers before those exams. If their attendance, though, drops below 90%, they're only getting between 51 and 54 days. That time is really, really significant. That's nearly a whole 10 days less if they're on 85% between now and that exam than the other students are getting. Obviously, the best opportunity for students to be learning is in school and with their teachers. So just really emphasising there the importance of their attendance between now and that final exam. You can see here on this figure, this is from last year, that when students drop below 90% in their attendance, only 90%, so last year, the students that were on below 90% attendance, only 14% of them achieved all grade 9 to 7s. 59%, if you look at the bit at the bottom, 59% of them achieved all grade 9 to 5s. So only that means that there are 40% of them that didn't achieve all grade 9 to 5s if they were sitting below 90%. So that was just, again, emphasising the importance of attendance this academic year. Organisation and planning then. So I'm not going to read all of that through because the information is all on the slides. It's also in the handbook that I sent out alongside all the resources here, but making sure they've got a clean and tidy workspace, they've got all the equipment they need, they've got a sensible plan, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then using technology as an aid as well, all will be really important for your child's progress. So this here is just an example of what's on the Year 11 2022. You can see in the top left-hand corner the name of the Google Classroom, Year 11 2022. You can access these documents, parents, by using your child's Google Classroom login, and then you can see everything that we've got there. We've got tons of revision documents and resources. We've got revision documents and resources that are from each subject as well, and there's mental health and wellbeing resources on there. Mr. Weller's put some revision timetable templates. I have given you an editable revision timetable template in the resources that I sent out after this evening as well, in case you want to do it on the computer rather than printing off and getting the students to fill it in by hand. Weekly study planners, etc. So there's just some examples there. And then finally, Mr. Weller's been doing a lot of work with the students about RAG rating specifications and RAG rating personalised, like essentially just learning checklists. So what students need to know before their exams. You can see there that red is I'm struggling to understand, amber I've got some understanding, and green is I have excellent understanding. The point of this is that students go through the specifications or through the checklists of what they need to know before their exam. They colour code it, and what that means is they then know what they need to focus on first when they're revising. Naturally, they should focus on the red, not the green, and then that's something that you as parents can look at as well and make sure that they are focusing on the right things. All students, and actually probably most adults, will always choose to do whatever is green, because green is generally easier because they already know it. It makes them feel very good about themselves, which is lovely, but it's actually not effective for their revision. So focusing on the reds first, then the ambers, and then only checking the greens later on. So a revision timetable then. You can see here that the first thing that I've blocked into this revision timetable for the students is their breaks when they're at school. I've put their clubs, so football I've put in there. I've put when they're out on a Friday and a Saturday night. I've even blocked a lovely lie-in on a Saturday for them. So they get to have a lie-in on a Saturday until 10:30. Wouldn't we all love that? The reason for blocking these in first is that if we take those things away from the students and those students aren't accessing those things, we will find their mental health will suffer. Because their mental health will suffer, they will do less well in their exams. They will be less willing to revise. So we put those things in first. That still leaves 29 hours in the week that they can be revising or doing schoolwork. So there is easily enough time for them to balance their friends, their sleeping, their clubs, and then also their revision. The next thing I've done is put homework in. The students have been speaking to me recently about how they're finding doing all of their homework plus revising quite difficult. So I've put in an hour to do homework every single day, and then a Saturday in the morning when they've woken up, before they have their lunch, they will sit and they will do some homework. That still leaves them with 21 hours a week for revision. And obviously homework still counts as learning, but it still leaves them with 21 hours a week for revision. This next bit then is where I've put in what they're revising in each hour. So I've put each subject in there appears twice across the week. And realistically, they should be doing 45 minutes of revision per subject with a 15-minute break in that hour. So on a Monday, they'd come home, they have their break, they do their homework, and then they do 45 minutes of biology, have a 15-minute break, then go to dinner, then do chemistry 45 minutes, have a break, and then physics 45 minutes, and then they can finish a little bit before 9:30. This is an example of a half-term timetable. Students need a different timetable for their half-term and when they're on study leave than they do when they're at school, because really, obviously, they're not going to school. Because they're not going to school, they have a lot more time during that week. They have 60 hours a week of time that they could be revising. Again, we need to block in things that they're doing to socialise, etc. We need to have their football in there. We need to have their lie-ins in there. That's what we do first. But there is still a significant amount of time per week. So you need to make sure that they've got one revision timetable for when they're at school and another revision timetable for when they are at when they are on holidays or when they're on their study leave. This here is an example of a weekly topic planner. This just maps out for students what they're revising in each subject each week. So I've done RS because I'm an RS teacher by trade, and it's the only one that I know, unfortunately. So you can see there that I've mapped out for 12 weeks. In the first week, the student would be revising Christian beliefs. In the second week, Christian practices. Third week, Islamic beliefs, etc. As we're getting nearer to the exams down the bottom, so the 9, 10, 11 and 12, I've said red topics. What I mean by that is the topics that they are least sure of based on the RAG rating they did of their specifications, etc. And what this helps students to do is when they sit down to revise, it helps to structure that revision. They know that they are in a week 1, they are sitting down to revise RS, and therefore they are going to revise Christian beliefs, and it makes it less overwhelming for them, and that's what we're aiming to do here. So revision wise, when your child is upstairs and they're revising and they've spent 3 hours doing revision, and they come downstairs and you're going, oh god, that fantastic, you've done 3 hours of revision, what have you been doing? And they say, oh mum, dad, I've been highlighting my notes. That is concerning because, as you can see on the slide in front of you, that is a really low impact revision strategy. What it means is they're spending a very long time revising, but it's having a very, very low impact on what they can actually remember in the exam. What we want students to be doing instead is the moderate, and obviously, ideally, they'd be doing the high impact strategies. So the moderate ones are things like being able to explain their point of view, whether that's to you or in writing, explaining how a problem was solved, whether that is to you or in writing, and then interleaved practice. So that's created by their revision timetable, which is switching between different subjects. The highest impact is practice testing. So self-testing to check their knowledge, whether that is past exam papers, if that's using Seneca, using flashcards, etc., that is the highest impact. And then distributed practice, spreading their study out over time. That's why we're doing this session now. We want them to spread this studying out between now and their final exam as much as possible. They should not be leaving it all until the last minute. So revision techniques then, again, I'm not going to go through all of that because this is mostly what I've just spoken about, but there's a nice clear summary for you of what the students should be doing. Final thing from me then is just a quick chat about students' mental health and wellbeing. The first thing I will say is if you are concerned about your child's mental health or wellbeing during this time, they will start putting a lot of pressure on themselves. Let me and Mr. Weller know. We've got loads of resources and we can support them. If a student's wellbeing is poor, if they're struggling, their attendance will suffer, their mental health will suffer, they will be less productive, they will learn less, and their outcomes will be more poor. So that's why we think this is really important. We want to make sure that we're looking after your child as well as pushing them to do as much revision as possible. So sleep then. I talk about sleep quite a lot with the students. They quite like it because it gives them an excuse to have a lie-in quite frequently. Teenagers need significantly more sleep than adults do. And I know that we as adults can sometimes get a little bit grumpy about the amount that teenagers sleep. However, their brains are still growing. They need more sleep than us. Without the right amount of sleep, they can't think properly. That's what impaired cognition means. They cannot think properly, which means their memory doesn't work properly, which means they will struggle to remember information while they are revising. They've got higher anxiety levels and also increased symptoms of depression. So it is really important that they are getting decent sleep during this time. The way they do that is they stick to a sleep schedule. They do not drink things like caffeine after about 5 o'clock, whether that is tea or coffee, whether that's energy drinks. They should be avoiding that as much as possible. Things like Coca-Cola that's got caffeine in it also counts. They won't like me saying that, but it's very important. Creating a restful environment, not having daytime naps. When they get in after school, if you get home and they're napping, you need to try and nip that in the bud as much as possible. If they're having a nap when they get home at 4:30, when it gets to sort of 10, 10:30 and they should be going to sleep, they're not going to be tired, but it will affect them the next day. Lots of physical activity and also managing their worry. So they can come and talk to me, Mr. Weller. We've got a wealth of support within the school, or of course they can come and talk to you. So that was just a really, really quick whistle-stop tour of what we spoke about. If there obviously any questions, anything like that, get in touch with me or Mr. Weller and we can clarify for you. And all of the resources are in the link that I will share when I send this out. Thank you.